Hello, podcast fans. Adam Carolla here. I'm leading the fight against patent trolls who are threatening this medium. It's not about me. It's about the podcast you're listening to right now. If I go down, this show could be next. So visit fundanything.com/patent troll for more information on how you can keep podcasting alive. Thank you and mahalo.
His skin is white just like a ghost, thick Irish roots and his blonde hair. And he sounds like a Chicago superfan. A music nerd with a collection of CDs from here to there. Yes, Andy Dare is in Chicago, interviewing and barbecuing. It's the Andy Dare Show. It's the Andy Dare Show.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for checking out the Andy Dare Show. This is my episode 115. I'm joined by a local guy, drummer of Material Issue and the Ladies and Gentlemen, Mike Zelenko. Totally cool guy. Now he's into a whole bunch of custom cabinetry, carpentry, all good stuff. And we had discussed the parallels between the two, drumming and carpentry. And he is a cool dude. And Material Issue, can't say enough about the band. They had 3 amazing albums in the early 90s. And they're from Chicago. They had a great power pop sound, but they still had a lot of muscle underneath them. Just a cool power trio. The guys made a lot of noise in Chicagoland during the late 80s, so it was really no surprise when they landed a major label deal and signed to Mercury. And their 1991 album is called International Pop Overthrow. It is a classic. It is near 5 stars for me. And in 2011, the drummer and the bassist got back together with another singer. And, they did a couple tribute shows, and they had a deluxe issue of the album with a whole bunch of bonus tracks and B-sides. Check that out if you can. But, so then they had 2 more albums. Then they got dropped by Mercury. Jim took it personally and obviously had a lot of issues in his life and had romantic issues and ended his own life in 1996. And it's a sad story. Such a talent, such a songwriter, such a powerhouse band that obviously couldn't go forward without Jim, without the singer. So, it's a sad ending to a cool story. But, Andy Dare Show is here for anybody that has had suicidal thoughts or depression. I've dealt with demons myself. And just want you to know that there's always somebody out there to talk to. And if you're interested in reaching out to somebody, you can check out suicidepreventionlifeline.org. And it's a cool site. There's a lot of options you can go to, a lot of people you can talk to. You're not alone. You'll get through this. And yes, the Material Issue music stands the test of time. Almost 20 years after Jim's passing. The music, you can definitely hear an influence in a lot of modern rock. You can definitely hear the influence with the way that they rock their shows and the power trio style. So, Material Issue, do check them out. I just want to thank Mike for doing the interview. I want to thank you guys for standing with us for the past 3.5 years. And if you want to support my little creative endeavor, all you got to do is go to theandydareshow.com. You check out the right side of the page. It's an Amazon banner. Takes you right to Amazon. You spend $0 extra, 0 extra cents, but you tip your cap to the Andy Dare Show and all the cool programming we have at theandydareshow.com. And we're bringing you a lot of cool interviews, a lot of cool shows on a weekly basis. So the least you could do is just click through the Amazon banner. If you want to do a little more, you can go to patreon.com/AndyDare and become a member of the Andy Dare Show for $1 a month. And, you'll get billed on the first of every month. And it just really means a lot to us, everybody that has, given a little time or money to the Andy Dare Show. I would also, definitely like to thank Empty Lighthouse, a cool new cultural website out at emptylighthouse.com. I've been writing and contributing articles and a lot of cool reviews, a lot of cool features. I've been doing a couple articles a week now. And, I've been having a blast doing it. This week I just did my Damon Albarn his new album called Everyday Robots. I reviewed that on Empty Lighthouse. And check it out at emptylighthouse.com. Did I love it? Did I hate it? Was I lukewarm? I'm a huge Damon Albarn fan, so do check out the review. And I want to thank Empty Lighthouse for also featuring fellow Darer Network podcaster Tyler Kale. And yeah, he's been having fun as well, doing all sorts of his stuff with doppelgangers and Instagram power rankings. So do check it out, emptylighthouse.com. That about does it for my little spiel this week. I just want to thank Mother Nature for finally letting spring break here in Chicago. You know, summer is finally around the corner. It's looking gorgeous out there, and just love the sun. Love seeing all the trees turning green. So I'm a happy guy. I hope you are too. And just want to thank Mike Zelenko for taking the time out. Here is my episode 115 with special guest Mike Zelenko. Hey everybody, thank you so much for checking out the Andy Darer Show. This is episode 115, and I'm joined by a local rocker, Mike Zelenko, ex-Material Issue. How you doing, man?
Hello out there.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
All right. Yes, we were just saying, yeah, Material Issue has been a huge influence on my life. I mean, now it's been almost 18 years now, but it seems like your influence is still really strong in the area, not even just Chicagoland and music in general. How are things for you in 2014? I see you're doing some custom cabinet work and stuff like that, another creative outlet, right?
Yeah, I build custom furniture for my customers, and mostly my designs. And I also do custom cabinets, furniture, design work. And I was kind of in that world a bit when I was playing music full time, and sort of parlayed that into my current career. So yeah, I've been doing that for quite a while now.
Nice. Is that something that you were like formally trained on, or is it just something that you picked up out of like necessity for building something small and then slowly you work your way up, or how'd that start?
Pretty similar to how I started off in music. You know, it was just mostly an interest and a passion, and just basically diving in and doing it. And I think, you know, like music, I just had sort of an aptitude for it, and taught myself and had other people show me things along the way.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of parallels between both worlds. Like you start off drumming, probably have a small little kit you buy at Sears or something like that. Then you start playing more shows, you get more, you buy the splash cymbal, you buy the other drums. Slowly but surely it turned into Neil Peart. And but then like with cabinet building, you needed to buy, you need to make something small for your girlfriend, and then you want to buy that tool. Now you want to buy this tool, that tool, and then slowly but surely you got your own little little shop going, right?
That's pretty much how it happened. I mean, for me, it kind of started out buying my first house and building things that I couldn't find in stores. Sort of things in special sort of corners where you can only really custom build them, and that's how I kind of got started doing it, and then sort of after a while I figured out I was pretty good at it. So
nice, sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Like how about taking it back for my listeners? How about like your first influence as a drummer?
Oh, drumming influence. Well, I have to say, like, when I started getting into music, like probably around 8 or 9 years old, sometime in the mid 70s, I was more of like fascinated by music than ever wanted to be a player. I wanted to be a guitar player when I started, sort of like, getting the idea that I could, to learn an instrument, but it just didn't come very naturally for me, and switched over to drums at about 12 years old. And I think I would have to say some of the first I guess drummers that I listened to were, I like AC/DC and Ringo Starr and Charlie Watts, some of the more simple stuff,
Sure. Yeah. Cool.
But I'm just very, I'm always been very into sort of simple music and simple playing, and I think that Jim and Ted from True Issues shared that together.
Shared that same vibe. I gotcha. Was high school? Did you take music in high school, or was that something that it was just more of a hobby and just kind of something that you wanted to do on your free time?
Well, I would say it's funny because in high school, I went to a high school in Chicago, in the city, that had some that produced some sort of fairly semi-famous sort of people.
Nice.
And there was one guy in particular, Mike O'Connell. He was in a band called Rights of the Accused, which was like a sort of 80s punk band.
Sure. Yeah.
He was like one of my first friends in high school, and I would hang out with him and hang out with his friends, and they were in this really really healthy punk rock music scene in the sort of the early 80s, 81, 82, 83, and I'd go see his shows with his band, and they weren't particularly mind-blowingly great, but he was a high school age kid, same age as me, and he was making records, and he was getting written about in these fanzines, and it's just I'm still friends with Mike, and he probably gets annoyed at how many times I credit him for introducing me to this world of music that didn't wait around for big record companies to come and find you, or vice versa. They just kind of did it themselves. So
that's awesome.
It was very,
the Rights of the Accused, they come up in my last interview I did with Jason Narducci, Verboten and all that. He started when he was 10 years old, and it's they didn't wait around for MTV approval. They didn't wait around for major labels. They were already, doing pretty well for themselves in high school, and that's kind of a cool thing that, I guess nowadays it could happen by building a fan base via social media and stuff like that. It's kind of come full circle, because now we don't need MTV anymore. We don't need major labels anymore. So it has kind of come full circle. But that's awesome that you kind of fit in a little bit with that scene, like the Naked Ray Gun, Rights of the Accused, all that good stuff.
Well, yeah, that was the stuff that, I grew up on the Northwest Side in Chicago, which is a very blue collar neighborhood, and in the late 70s and early 80s, when I started kind of getting into my teenage years, in my neighborhood, being very sort of blue collar it was very sort of hard rock, heavy metal, and kind of there wasn't a lot of the sort of it was a very limited kind of thing, there. So, getting, in high school with Mike, he introduced me to a lot of new stuff, and really kind of helped, open up ideas for myself. Just getting back to you asking me about starting to play, it pretty much early on, it kind of planted the seeds in my head that this is something that I kind of want to do with my life, and even though I'm not very good at it right now, I know that I can get very good at it, and I knew very, very early on that it was something I wanted to do. Yeah,
that's real cool. And studying up on the scene via my show, it's I remember in the 90s, people were taking a look at the 80s and saying, oh, the 80s sucked. It was all just mall pop and hair metal and all that stuff. But now looking back, you had all these separate scenes in different cities. You had Sub Pop records up in Seattle. You had SST records out on the West Coast. You had our stuff with Touch and Go records here in Chicago, and like the scene we were just talking about. So it's kind of a cool thing that is kind of now finally getting some light and some respect.
And I mean, I'm sure it has all the way back then, but just now it seems like it's all clicking in my head. And like you guys definitely had the punk muscle, obviously via your drumming and like the hard riffs and stuff. But you guys had a definite respect for pop melodies, and I guess that's mostly on Jim's side, right? Was he a big fan of, like the Raspberries, Beach Boys, Beatles? Yeah.
We all were. I wouldn't like take responsibility solely in Material Issue for adding the hard edge to it. It wasn't so much that like going back to talking about these punk rock bands and these small labels. It wasn't so much that we wanted to play that kind of music. It was kind of like, wow, well you can just do this. You can just do it. And no, I was very into like melodic. I've always been into melodic music, and Jim, when I first met Jim and we talked about, I met Jim in '86, like right after I graduated high school, and Jim was like 4 years older than me. So I was pretty young when I met Jim. I think I was only like 18 or something like that, and right away we started talking about like, well, we don't need to get a big record deal right away. We can just look at all these small labels, look at all these great scenes down in Athens, Georgia, and in North Carolina, up in Minneapolis, with Twin Tone Records, the Replacements and REM and these bands. But back in the '80s, the Replacements were not really a big band back. They weren't that big of a band, like back in '86. I mean, yeah, they had just signed to Sire Records, but like I remember seeing the Replacements in 1984 at the Cubby Bear in Chicago, and there were 30 people there,
Sure, yeah.
and they were out working, and they weren't making any money, but they were like they were calling themselves professional musicians, and so that was our plan from day one. And when we came up with the formula of Material Issue, we were like, well, we're going to be a very melodic band, and we're going to have harmonies, but we're going to be very stripped down and simple, and we're going to add all of our influences from like AC/DC to the Bee Gees, and we're going to wear it on our sleeves. So that was the whole sort of master plan of Material Issue.
That's incredible. How about like, would he work up demos by himself and then bring some like full-fledged songs to you guys, or was it more of creating together, or did he come to rehearsal with stuff already kind of tracked out?
No, we never had demos, worked out. Usually, the way that Jim would bring ideas to the band, there would be some songs that he would have completely sort of worked out. He would have the verse, the chorus, all the lyrics, and he would just sort of play the song to us in a very Beatlesque kind of format, where there would be, a verse, a chorus, a verse, a chorus, a bridge, a verse, a chorus, an outro. All within 2 minutes and 50 seconds or whatever. And then some of the tunes were just like, oh, great, let's not change anything. We'll just play along. And then some tunes he had like certain ideas, and then we kind of said, well, why don't we take this thing from there? And so, there was collaboration, I mean, not so much in the writing aspect, in the arrangements and
Sure.
So yeah, it wasn't, it was very organic kind of environment.
Nice.
As far as putting the songs together and arranging things.
That's pretty sweet. How about like a favorite venue to play around Chicagoland?
Around Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh God. Well, I think my favorite venue, especially with Material Issue, would probably be the Metro, because. Like I remember back in high school, like seeing the Ramones at Metro,
Nice.
like in 84, 85, and it was sold out, of course, but not that big of a place. I mean, it's only like, what is it, like 800 people?
800 to 1,000, I think.
Like that, and I mean, when like old geezers like us reminisce about the 80s and bands like the Ramones, who are now like legendary. the Ramones were together today, they'd probably be playing in front of 10,000 people, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
But like, you know, for us, like that kind of, you gotta remember, like, in that era of music, like in the mid '80s, the kind of music that we liked, like the Ramones and Naked Reagan and the Smiths and Echo and the Bunnymen and Psychedelic Furs, those were bands that, for the most part, didn't get played on the radio. You know, you know, the radio back then was sort of dominated by, you know, '80s sort of new wave, you know, Cyndi Lauper and like Michael Jackson and stuff like that. And then on the other aspect, there was all this hair metal stuff like Poison and you know, whatever band you want to throw out there with that genre. So, like, you know, we were kind of like, well, we don't want to do that, and we don't want to do this. You know, we looked at bass, like, you know, we looked into like sort of this sort of like, it was before it was called alternative rock, you know, officially a title on it, but it was like, well, this is like, you know, so when I saw the Ramones at Metro, I was like, well, this is, you know, I remember the first time Material Issue headlined Metro, we thought we had arrived, you know, like, you know, we're playing like the coolest venue in Chicago. And we filled the place. When we filled Metro on our own, we were like, man, if we could do this in every city, we could make enough money to not have to, like, you know, have a day job. And we probably, you know, you're thinking from an aspect of a person in their late 20s and late teens and early 20s. So, like, what, you know, this would be great if we could play a venue the size of Metro, you know, all over the United States.
It's
so,
huge.
Yeah, I'd have said Metro. Metro was always a very exciting place for me.
Yeah, it seems like they've built up a huge amount of good vibes towards them. And Joe Shanahan, the owner, is sick right now. And I just keep reading on Facebook all these testimonials about how he, like, you know, helped their band, how he started their band, getting some airplay, stuff like that.
He helped us immensely, yeah.
Yeah. And like the Smashing Pumpkins, REM, all this stuff, they all got a big break from Joe in the Metro. So it seems like that is the place to play in Chicago still in 2014. So.
Yeah.
How about this?
Yeah, I mean, there's also some other great venues like Lincoln Hall, and the people over at Schubers are doing great things around the city, the Hideout.
And you guys like the Gallery Cabaret, right?
Gallery Cabaret. Oh, you have to refresh my memory on that one.
It said something. I took a Chicago bus tour that they visited all like the special places in Chicago, and they're dropping your name with Liz Phair and the Pumpkins to the Gallery Cabaret up in Bucktown. It said. I'd never been, but I was just wondering. It mentioned you on their website. So.
God, I don't remember that place. I doubt it's there anymore. I mean, there was several venues back in the late '80s that are not around anymore, as you would imagine. 25 years on.
Yeah, same thing with the first place.
I don't remember that place.
You do remember it?
Oh, maybe you're talking about Nick's.
I think it's
not Nick's. Dreamers.
Club Dreamers.
Yeah, I think you're talking about Dreamers. Yeah.
Gotcha. Nice. Right
Dreamers,
up on,
which is now called Nick's. It's in Wicker Park. Yeah. When Wicker Park was a mean, nasty, really sort of bad neighborhood.
Yeah.
now it's
the opposite.
Now it's like, you know. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Getting coffee and stuff like that. How about this? Did grunge help or hurt you guys?
You know, I'd have to say it hurt us. You know, just because the way that the industry is, and just the way the entertainment industry is in general, when a band like Nirvana or a movie like Pulp Fiction or something, I'm thinking totally in the 90s right now, but like Nirvana, who were, and Pearl Jam, say, and Soundgarden to a lesser extent, but Nirvana really was the band that sort of broke open this idea to the big industry record company Fat Cats that, like, wow, you know, this band can be as big as the Beatles. You know, this is not just some like sideline boutique band that we have on our label that we hope they sell, like, you know, 100,000 units. and it makes us look really cool because no, I mean, Nirvana, that record was enormously huge. And what usually follows suit with things like that, when trends and sort of mania type things like that happen, is, we got our record deal. We put out our first record like, I think 8 months before Nevermind came out, our first record. And 8 months doesn't seem like a very long time, but like it as far as like industry people were concerned, we were like,
old news, yeah.
Well, not really, because we were a new band still. We're only 8 months into the game, but it was just kind of like they were kind of going like, well, whoa, And I remember like labels were signing every single knockoff band that sounded something remotely like Nirvana or grunge or Seattle, and it was just kind of like, hey, what about all these great songs we have over here, guys?
Yeah.
We were so, and then we kind of, we were aligned with the Matthew Sweets and the Posies, Teenage Fan Club, and Jellyfish.
Sure, Sloan, yeah.
Yeah, and it was. So I think in some ways it did, because for a very pivotal point of our career, where our label and our fan base at the time were very excited about our move to a major label record and to a wider audience. It got a bit, I don't know. The grunge thing just kind of took over. I mean, you had like, well, I could tell you like a short story. Like,
sure.
I remember like in 90, end of 91, early 92, we were on the road, and Ted, the bass player, Mature This Year, and I, we were sort of roommates, when we were on the road. And that was way back in the day when MTV played music videos, like around the clock. And, we would sort of like, after the gig the night before, so get up and whatever day, and we'd like have MTV on, and so we watch this video. It's like, oh, well, here's this fucking band again, this, I'm still alive, this guy's kind of singing, like kind of mumbling, and like, I'm like, well, what the fuck is with the flannel shirts and the lumberjack look, and we're like, what is this? Like, what are these guys? Like the Nirvana thing we got, because like, they're like, oh, they're like good songs, I mean, they're like poppy kind of good songs. We get, I mean, what we're doing is not that far away from what they're doing.
Sure.
Yeah. But like, it was and of course I'm referring to Pearl Jam, and like the very, very first single before they became huge. And like Ted just kind of looked at me, and he's just like, "Oh, we're doing like this sort of like mod thing, and he just said like, oh my God, we're fucked. Like this is where, and that's pretty much what happened. So that's a very long answer to your question about.
No, I love it. It's awesome. And so you had the album after that, and then the third album you guys got dropped, and then it all kind of went into a little bit of obviously a downhill or downward spiral, and obviously Jim had his own issues, and there's not much we can really say about that. How was it like picking up the pieces after Jim passed?
Oh, well, that was really hard. Jim was my friend, and I wouldn't have cared if the band,
You would probably
I'd rather have the band. I'd rather have. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have our band broken up and dead than my friend, So it was very hard. Yeah, I mean, it's still something all these years later that it's something you never really quite get over,
Certainly, yeah.
So,
It's just something that time won't ever really solve, but I mean, at least you got to just keep moving forward, and you found another outlet, and everybody is still cool in the Chicago scene. How about like are you still like jamming with anybody? Are you still playing music, or what's the deal with as far as your musical aspiration?
Well, I mean, I'm still in my the Ladies and Gentlemen, which has been a band I've been in since, I don't know, about 2004 now, maybe about 10 years. We've been together about 10 years. Skid Marks, who was in a band called the Waymoves and Charming Beggars, and Lenny, who was bandmates with Jason Narducci. He was in Verbo on bass, and Scott Ramusser, who's plays keyboards. We call the Ladies and Gentlemen, and I'm still doing that. We don't do a lot of stuff. I mean, we probably only do about 3 or 4 gigs a year. And
I'll have to come out and see you guys sometime. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And then Ted and I did the reunion shows. What was that? 3 years ago now.
Sure, for the 20th anniversary, right?
Yeah, 20th anniversary release of International Pop Overthrow. Universal, who owns the rights to our stuff now, put out a 20th anniversary really cool CD. It come on vinyl too.
Yeah, some awesome outtakes and cool hidden nuggets that I had never heard on that thing. So do check it out if you haven't heard that one before. If you just heard the IPO album, check out the deluxe too. Cool. All right, yeah. Any other things you'd like to plug or anything else?
No, not really. There may be some more shows with Ted and I in the Materialistic context. We have Phil Angotti, who's a great local singer-songwriter, who I've also been his drummer for a few years. I haven't done much with him in the past year or year and a half, but Phil Angotti is really great, and he really was very gracious and very generous to step up and take on Jim's part with the reunion shows.
Awesome.
And there's been some offers for us to play, some pretty generous offers for us to play, and we may do some more shows. So
awesome. I'm looking forward to it. If you do, keep us all notified. How about the Ladies and Gentlemen? And do you guys have a website?
I'm sure we do. I don't know what it is though. No, I don't know. Right. I think we do. We have Facebook. I think we have Facebook.
All right, cool. Yeah, just Google it by now. The Ladies and Gentlemen Music Chicago. I'm sure it'll come up. And just want to thank you so much for taking the time out. This was a real cool chat. I love the whole Chicago punk scene, alt scene from 80s and 90s. So couldn't thank you more for taking the time out.
It's my pleasure. Thanks.
All right, thanks, man.
This episode of The Andy Dare Show is brought to you in part by Uncle Bub's award-winning barbecue in Westmont, Illinois. Family owned and operated since 1997, Uncle Bub's is the real deal barbecue. A family-friendly restaurant open 7 days a week. Also, it's a full-service catering company doing weddings, pig roasts, luau's, grill packages, you name it. They have a friendly, helpful staff that will make sure that your party goes off without a hitch. Call them at 630-493-9000. Visit them at 132 South Cass Avenue in Westmont, Illinois, and UncleBubs.com. Hey man, I know you like grilling. I know you like getting those dark grill marks on your burgers, fish, chicken. And I know you don't want to just dry your meat out like you're cooking with a hairdryer. Why not get the Man Grate and click through the AndyDareShow.com's banner so we can keep the lights on here at Honeycomb Hideout Studios in gorgeous Westmont, Illinois. The Man Grate. This episode of The Andy Dare Show is brought to you in part by Record Utopia, a music lover's dream with thousands of vinyl records, musical instruments, and sound gear. They buy, sell, and trade. Give them a call at 630-963-1957. Visit them in Westmont, Illinois at 309 West Ogden Avenue, on the web at recordutopia.com. It's always a good, relaxed atmosphere. Check them out, Record Utopia. Be sure to follow Andy on Twitter, that's at Andy Dare, and like our show on Facebook, that's facebook.com/The Andy Dare Show. Videos at youtube.com/Andrew Martin Dare, and we're on iTunes. Just search The Andy Dare Show. Please leave a review. Thanks so much to our wonderful sponsors, Uncle Bub's award-winning barbecue, Record Utopia, The Man Grate, and Amazon.com. Theme song courtesy of Rich Banks Music. Thank you so much for checking out The Andy Dare Show. TheAndyDareShow.com.